Okay, today we are continuing with our Unit 2. We are on CO12. I can add and subtract fractions. So some words we need to remember. Least common denominator, that LCD. That is the least common multiple of the denominators of two or more fractions. So remember, we need to have the same number on the bottom and the denominator in order to add or subtract them. Fractions and common denominators. To add or subtract two fractions with a common denominator, write the sum or difference of the numerators over the denominator. So the first thing you have to do is check to make sure your denominators are the same. If they're not the same, find that common multiple. We want to find the least common denominator so that way we don't have to simplify as much at the end. If it's not the least common and it's a bigger number, 6 and 8, the least common denominator would be 24, but 6 times 8 is 48. It's still a common denominator. You can do that. You'll just have to simplify more at the end. We want to divide it down to that smallest fraction at the end of it. So let's look at how this works. We've done this in 5th grade. So this is kind of a review for us and just making sure we understand how it works. So add numerators and simplify. So you want the simplest fraction at the end. So we have 3/8 plus 1/8. First step is always common denominator. Do they have a common denominator?
Yeah.
Yes. So now we can move on to our second step. Second step is, this is an adding one, so we add our numerators. What is 3 plus 1? 4. Denominator stays the same. So we have 4/8. Am I done?
No.
Why not, Will? I can simplify it. Simplify, simplify, simplify. What can I divide out of a 4 and an 8? A 2. So what I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Am I done?
No.
Why not, Nolan?
Because you can make it even smaller.
Can make it even smaller. What can I divide out of a 2 and a 4? I can divide another 2 out. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Am I done?
Yes.
Now I found my simplest. Now I'm done. Always divide down, divide down, divide down until you cannot divide anything more out. Simplify, simplify, simplify. Let's look at our next fraction. I'm going to erase this one so I have room to work. 3/5 plus 4/5. What's my first step, Gabby? Number 2. 3/5 plus 4/5. What's my first step?
Oh.
Nope. What's my first step, Lily?
See if the denominators are the same.
Check the denominator. If the denominators are the same, you can move on to step 2. My denominators are the same here, so it's an easy one. Step 2 is doing the operation, adding or subtracting. 3 plus 4 is 7. Denominator stays the same. Am I done?
No.
I'm not. I can't divide anything out of 7 and 5. They don't share any factors. What do I have to do, Will?
You have to make it a mixed number.
It's improper. Mrs. Dawson does not like improper in her school. We need to make it proper. We need to turn it into a mixed number. So we have 7/5. I need to look. How many times can I take 5 out of 7? Brielle?
1,
I can take a 5 out 1 time. How many are left over? 2. So that's my new numerator. Denominator stays the same. So if it's improper, Oh, Miss Dawson wants us to make it proper. Turn it into a mixed number. 4/5 plus 2/5. What is my first step, Adrian? What do I always look at when I'm adding or subtracting? What's the first step?
To make the denominator common.
Check to make sure the denominators are the same, that they have a common denominator. This one does it. First step is done for us. Second step, do the operation. So you are adding your numerators. Denominator stays the same. Am I done? I heard some no's. Why am I not done? Because what's wrong with this number? Regan? It's improper and Mrs. Dawson wants proper. So how many times can I take 5 out of 6? One time. How many is left over? One left over. Denominator stays the same. Subtracting. Same first step. Okay, we need to make sure our denominator is the same. All of these have that first step is the same denominator. So we have 5/7 minus 2/7. Subtract or do the operation. 5 minus 2 is 3. Denominator stays the same. Am I done?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't subtract, I can't divide anything out to make it smaller. It is simplified. 7/9 minus 1/9 step. Number 1 is done. Denominator is the same. Do my operation. 7 minus 1 is 6/9. Am I done?
No.
Why not?
Because
You can divide it by what?
2. No, 3.
I can divide by a 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Am I done?
No.
Why not, Nolan?
Because it can be even smaller.
What can I divide out of a 2 and a 3? What factor do they share?
Nothing.
They share a 1.
Yeah,
They share a 1, but if I divide 2 by 1, what do I get? 2. If I divide 3 by 1, what do I get? So if they share 1 is the only factor they share, it's as simple as it goes.
So if it's like if it's an odd number, you can't go down, or what about? Like I don't get.
5/15s are both odd. Can I divide something out of 5 and 15? I could still divide a 5 out. So it's if they don't share any other factor besides a 1. We know that if they're even, it will always share a 2. The odd numbers you need to think about a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay. But even numbers, you can always divide those 2's out. Then when you get down to the odds, you have to say, can I get any simpler? So 11 minus 4 is 7. 14, or the denominator stays the same. Am I done, Peyton?
No, you're not.
What can I divide out?
You can divide a 2 out of it.
7 is odd.
Oh, okay. So a 7.
I can divide it both by 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 14 divided by 7 is 2. Am I done?
Yeah.
Yes, that is as small as we can get. On the bottom of the binder sheet is our uncommon different denominators. So that's where we really have to do that step 1. So let's look at our first one. 3/4 plus 1/12. What is our common denominator with a 4 and a 12? Lily?
24.
24 is a common denominator.
12 is 1 too.
12 is also a common denominator. Remember I said we want to try to find that least common denominator. Otherwise, we're going to have to simplify more at the end. We could do 24. There's absolutely nothing wrong with doing the work with 24. You're just going to have to simplify more. If you find that least common denominator, we won't have to simplify as much. So, how did I go from 4 to 12? Nolan?
Times 3.
Times 3. So whatever I do to my denominator, I do to my numerator. 3 times 3 is 9. How did I go from 12 to 12?
1.
Times by 1. So numerator times by 1 is 1. So I get 9 plus 1 is 10. Denominator stays the same. Am I done? Now, what can I divide out of 10 and 12? Well, I can divide a 2 out. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 12 divided by 2 is 6. That is simplified. Nolan,
Can I use the restroom?
can you wait until I'm done with directions real quick? We've got just a couple more problems left. So now we have 3/5 plus 1/2. What is a common denominator? See if you can find the least common denominator. Landon, what do you think the least common denominator with 5 and 2 would be?
1.
Not factor. When we're finding that least common denominator, remember that's the multiples. So not adding them together, multiplying. 5 divided by 1 is 5. 2 can't go, 2 doesn't multiply up to a 5. 5 times 2 is 10. Can 2 get up to a 10? Yes, so that is a common denominator. 10 and 10. To go from 5 to 10, I multiplied it by 2. So what I multiply the denominator by, I multiply my numerator by. 2 times 3 is 6. To go from 2 to 10, I multiply by 5. Whatever I do to my denominator, I do to my numerator. 5 times 1 is 5. Now I can add them. 6 plus 5 equals 11 tenths. That is improper.
Miss Dawson is mad.
Miss Dawson doesn't like improper. I can take 10 out of 11 one time. I'm left with 1. And the denominator stays the same. Will?
Can you simplify our next number?
So if we ended up with 2 and 2/4, it would turn into 2 and 1/2.
Yeah.
So that whole number stays the same, but your fraction you can simplify down. So if it's a mixed number, you still simplify the fraction only. Good question. All right, let's take a look at our homework for today. I think we have a good sense of finding those common denominators and doing the operation. So I'm going to end the video.